ends, the mountain stirs once more. Beneath its crags, cliffs, and rocks, there's evil in its core. Fire made flesh, dragon's breath, teeth and claws and flame, calling any heroes out there that are brave. Or just insane. Blackrock Mountain, a Hearthstone adventure.
Blackrock Mountain is Hearthstone's second adventure, released on April 2nd. Blackrock Mountain is a 5-wing adventure, with each wing representing a raid or dungeon instance from the World of Warcraft's Blackrock Mountain zone, a high-level area inhabited by fire elementals, Blackrock orcs, dark iron dwarves, and the black dragonflight. The adventure features 17 bosses as well as 9 class challenges and a challenging heroic mode. By defeating these bosses, players can earn 31 new collectible cards, including 5 legendaries and 18 class cards, as well as a special card deck. This adventure rewarded the player with several favorites from Hearthstone's past, including Emperor's Thaurissan, the Grim Patron, Flame Waker, Imp Gang Boss, and a personal favorite of mine, Gang Up. Blackrock Mountain takes its setting from the World of Warcraft zone of the same name in the Burning Steppes region. Home to both Ragnaros and Nefarion, the zone houses several raid and dungeon instances. Blackrock Mountain features several of these instances, each as its own wing: Blackrock Depths, Molten Core, Blackrock Spire, Blackwing's Lair, and the Blackwing Descent, or retitled as the Hidden Laboratory. While each of these instances originally featured at different and distinct periods of time in the game's history, Blackrock Mountain appears to choose freely from them all, mixing and matching elements to provide some novel combinations, a new take on the zone and its denizens. Most critically, the adventure's Nefarion appears to be based on the character's appearance in Cataclysm, following his defeat during Vanilla WoW, and later resurrection by his father, Deathwing. Meanwhile, Ragnaros appeared to be taken from the Molten Core raid, which saw the Firelord defeated by adventurers months before they first encountered Nefarion. The adventure initially sees players working with the slightly suspicious Lord Victor Nefarious to battle Ragnaros, leader of the Fire Elementals and ruler of the Dark Iron forces within the lower half of the mountain. The player will battle through the first wing of Dark Iron forces as they make their way deeper into the mountain, with the second wing hosting the Molten Core, home to Ragnaros himself. However, after defeating Ragnaros, the player decides to turn against Lord Victor Nefarious, entering the upper reaches of the mountain to slay his minions, and eventually forcing Nefarious to reveal his true form, the Black Dragon Nefarion. With the aid of Ragnaros, who reveals himself not to be truly dead, the player manages to slay Nefarion. It seems, though, that Ragnaros is not the only one capable of faking his death, as Nefarion too is not truly slain following his defeat in Blackwing Lair, entering the dragon's hidden laboratory. The player battles through several more bosses to reach Nefarion once again, where he has a special surprise in store, in the true form of his resurrected sister, Onyxia. Trouble stirs beneath Blackrock Mountain. Deep within the fiery cracks of the Molten Core, Ragnaros the Firelord is massing his elemental forces, posing a serious threat to the Black Dragon Nefarion's mountaintop lair. Things are about to reach a flashpoint. Better break out the cards and show these two how real battles are settled with the civilized game of Hearthstone. Blackrock Mountain throws you right in the middle of one of Azeroth's most heated conflicts, the ancient feud between the elemental Lord of Fire, Ragnaros, and the powerful Black Dragon Nefarion, the de facto leader of the Black Dragon flight. Nefarion would call himself the ruler of Blackrock Mountain, but Ragnaros and his elemental servants have been a thorn in the dragon's side for far too long. This mountain's not big enough for the two of them. Before you do the dragon's bidding to take on the Firelord, ask yourself, is Nefarion's encouragement genuine? Or are you just another pawn in this old worm scheme? But let us begin in the beginning, as we enter the Blackrock Depths. The sooty stone halls of Blackrock Depths forms a dim, sprawling city, whose subterranean streets are filled with dark iron dwarves. The Dark Irons are enslaved to the will of Ragnaros the Firelord, and that's a pretty time-consuming job. When they're not slaving away, however, they make time for fun. Brawls in the Grim Guzzler, brawls in the Ring of Law, really just brawling everywhere they feel like brawling. Deep under Blackrock Mountain, near smoldering rivers of slowly flowing lava, lies the cavernous sprawl of Blackrock Depths. Home to the fire-resistant dark iron dwarves and their host of the stone-hewn golems and blazing elementals, these hardy folk have carved out an empire for themselves from the mountain itself, ultimately aiming to claim all of Blackrock for themselves. Whether they're tending to the piping hot forges or enjoying a good old-fashioned tavern brawl, the denizens of Blackrock depths are a force to be reckoned with. Tempered in the heat of the mountain, the dark iron dwarves will stop at nothing to destroy those who control the upper reaches of the mountain, namely those accursed dragons. Next, we move into the Grim Guzzler itself. Strong, stubborn, and stalwart, the heat of Blackrock depths has forged the dark iron dwarves into singe-proof juggernauts. Able to take an immense amount of punishment, many of the minions that inhabit Blackrock depths can both dish out their fair share of pain or turn inflicted damage into impressive beneficial effects. Since a high heat and alcohol tolerance is a sign of strength in Dark Iron Dwarf society, you can rest assured that their tavern brawls within Blackrock Depths' Grim Guzzler Tavern are an impressive sight to see. If you decide to throw the first punch, prepare yourself as a few grim patrons and all of their friends join in on the action. If you manage to take the heat and survive a few drinks at the Grim Guzzler, make sure you stroll steadily along the stone paths that connect the city. These paths are all that separate you from a dip into the molten volcanic river below. Shamans can harness the power of lava in order to melt away their overload problems. How refreshing. But then you'll find you're making your way to the mountain's molten core. The molten core is the seething magma-filled heart of Blackrock Mountain, where long ago, in what is now widely considered to be a bad move, the Dark Iron Dwarf Thorson summoned Ragnaros the Firelord into Azeroth. Ragnaros promptly incinerated Thorson's kingdom and enslaved his people, which also had the convenient "if you're a Firelord" side effect of creating the cozy "if you're a fire elemental" volcano known as Blackrock Mountain. Now, the searing volcanic caverns of Molten Core are patrolled by elemental minions eager to turn up the heat on any heroes foolish enough to invade the Firelord's domain. A Flame Waker is an ambitious sort of fire elemental. In addition to being helpful when you need to rouse a sleepy fire, Flame Wakers tend to be tougher and smarter than their fellow elementals, and often possess some skill in the arcane arts. Fire is their weapon of choice, and you can count on turning their scouring flames to your service should you win a Flame Waker's loyalty. It turns out that the elemental lords are fond of keeping pets. Unfortunately, when a magma giant thinks cuddly, he checks off a list that includes things like giant, two-headed, fang-mawed, and made of living magma. The only beings dwelling in the elemental plane of fire who match that description are the terrifying corehounds. While keeping one of these critters properly makes apartment hunting a chore, there's no better four-legged friend to have when your back is up against the wall. And then there are the imps. The imps that are like roaches. If you see one, there are definitely more nearby, and they're probably doing things like letting the air out of your tires, changing your computer's background to something embarrassing, or poisoning. It's even worse than when they're in a gang, or super great if they're on your team. Blackrock Spire was hewn into the rock of Blackrock Mountain by the Dark Iron clan of dwarves centuries ago, while Ragnaros holds sway over the magma tunnels that honeycomb the depths of Blackrock Mountain. The Black Dragon Nefarion rules the upper reaches of the mountain with an iron claw. As the ebon stone walls of Blackrock Spire are patrolled by warmongering Blackrock orcs, ogres, and Nefarion's dragonkin servants, the stage is set for one of Warcraft's most memorable moments. The corridors and chambers within Blackrock Mountain serve many purposes, ranging from laboratories to barracks to smithies. Among them is the Black Dragonflight's rookery, where spiky eggs can be found from wall to wall. The funny thing about these dragon's eggs is that they're pressure sensitive. Brush up against one and they pop! Open like the world's deadliest popcorn, spewing forth a bitey little dragon whelp. Enter one group of hapless adventurers with an impatient ally, and the legend of Leroy Jenkins is born. Do you want whelps? Because dragon eggs are how you get whelps. But there's also the Dragonkin that lurk within the Blackrock Spire. Dragonkin refers to all of the draconic races who aren't full dragons, including the Draconids or dragon hybrids. No one is quite sure how they came to be, but since dragons usually don't mind meddling with mortals, it's a safe bet that muddled mortal is a primary ingredient. These powerful and devoted spawn of the Black Dragonflight are Nefarion's lieutenants within Blackrock Spire. Some of them thrive on magical forces, and if you're not averse to sharing a little magical juice, you'll be richly rewarded. The Blackrock clan of orcs is led by the fearsome Rend Blackhand. You might be asking yourself what kind of name is Rend, to which he'd answer his brother's name is Mame, so yeah, they're that kind of family. True to form, Rend is kind of a jerk and wants to overthrow Thrall and take control of the Horde so he can spread his version of family values across the face of Azeroth. With Nefarion's help, Rend and the Blackrock orcs gained the upper hand over the Dark Iron dwarves that once occupied the Spire. Now, Rend's warriors serve as troops and guards while everyone else hangs out and hatches evil schemes, sometimes dragon eggs. Tired of powerful heroes and minions cluttering up your opponent's board? Rend can help. But that brings us to Nefarion, the Lord of Blackwing Spire. If you think you've gotten out of trouble just because you're a safe distance away from the otherworldly elementals of the Molten Core or the flame-tempered and ill-tempered dwarves of the Blackrock depths, think again. A host of black dragons lurk within the uppermost reaches of Blackrock, and their leader is perhaps the most ill-tempered of them all. The black dragon Nefarion, son of Deathwing, claims the upper reaches of Blackrock Mountain as his own. Ruthless and cunning, Nefarion built Blackwing Lair as a home for the black dragonflight and his various experiments. It was also here that he concocted the ultimate army of home-cooked chromatic dragons, perfect for thwarting Ragnaros and his fiery minions that lurked under their mountain. And if goblins versus gnomes made you think that goblins only tinker with shredders, then think again. The green-skinned technicians within Blackwing Lair love to tinker with organic chemistry, creating volatile concoctions from dragon experiments that enhance their own nefarious powers. If you see a Blackwing technician looking shady, be sure to take note. A dragon is near. While the technicians are busy dabbling with the dangerous dragon experiments, the Blackwing corruptors are engrossed in harnessing and controlling the power of dragons for their own dark deeds. These minions have seen How to Train Your Dragonkin at least 100 times. Their powers are also bolstered by their proximity to dragons, so stay on your toes. Now, there are also a few rules when it comes to handling dragons, but the most important rule of all is this: don't stand in front of one ever. Aside from a maw of sharp teeth to watch out for, dragon breath is incredibly good at reducing heroes to a pile of ash. While it's not minty fresh, dragon's breath can be a very powerful tool in the hands of a mage. But then we'll move into the final wing of this adventure, the Hidden Laboratory. The Hidden Laboratory appears to be based on WoW's Blackwing's Descent. Nefarion really loves experiments, specifically bad experiments. He loves them so much that he's had himself reanimated and is now back from the dead, fully ready to resume his twisted work. Being a very goal-oriented dragon, he's outfitted another secret laboratory deep inside the Blackrock Mountain, complete with sparkling lightning coils, vats of questionable substances, and the sounds of draconic agony. Nefarion spared no expense in decking this place out with all the tools, materials, minions, and victims he needs to succeed. He even had his pad tricked out with amazing dark iron technology. It's not a sound system, though that would be totally sweet. In a given dragon fight, not all dragonkin are equally powerful. Drakes are younger dragons, and Nefarion keeps a bunch of these around to do his bidding. They do it all, including acting as guards, enforcers, mounts for favored allies, looking at you, Rend. Cook, clean, do chores around the lair, and are really great at disposing of excess adventurers. They have a weakness for snacks, so if you have some tasty corpses handy, a drake will be your best friend forever. But at the back of the laboratory, otherwise known as Blackwing Descent, there's a dragon named Nefarion, or also known as Blackwing, or also known as Victor Nefarious, Lord of Blackrock. When he's not smashing intruders with his sorcerous might, he enjoys long walks through his domain, the sounds of victims sniveling in fear, and quality time on his throne. His family is known across the land for their wisdom, restraint, and humility. Psych! His family tree includes some of the most hideous evil creatures Azeroth has ever known, including his sister Onyxia and their father Deathwing. They're all pretty much the worst kind of awful, but true to his name, Nefarion is, well, nefarious. Not only does he have that being a huge dragon deal going for him, he also is cunning and manipulative. and as evidenced by his not-so-friendly rivalry with the elemental Firelord Ragnaros. But once you've defeated Nefarion, you have completed all of Blackrock Mountain. Blackrock Mountain featured a number of themes. Some are major elements of the adventure, while others are simply just new traits found amongst cards. First and the most represented aspect of this adventure were dragons. First and most represented are dragons, where they finally have their tribal ability of holding another dragon to activate their own ability introduced. Secondly, and opposed to the Black Dragon flight, is Ragnaros' army of fire elementals. And then there are the denizens of the mountain, the Dark Iron Dwarves and the Blackrock Orcs, who both make appearances as they inhabit the mountain's fiery bowels. And finally, this adventure does not feature any epic cards. It is the first content edition not to add cards of each of the 4 rarities. That's going to wrap everything up for the Blackrock Mountain lore. I cannot express how many times I've said Blackrock Mountain or messed up saying Blackrock or just tongue-tied in this recording. My goodness.